Mic check. Hello. Oops. Just arranging my windows. Hello. Hi, DTLV Doom. Can you hear my voice? This is the voice of your conscience. Good, thanks, Brian. Okay. Okay. Welcome. Alright, so this is the release party. It was going to be the release party for Tidal version 1.5.0, but unfortunately there was a bug in that release, and we don't talk about 1.5.0 anymore. Splice was broken. So instead this is the release party for 1.5.1. So hello everyone. Good morning, Bernard. So I'm trying to remember what I said I'd do. The main thing is just going to be going through what's new, really. Thought I'd try and talk about upgrading. The basic thing you do, really, is opening a terminal window, do Cabal update, if you do it that way, or if you use the old style V1, it's this. Cabal's a bit broken at the moment. If you've got a newish version of Haskell, there's new stuff for managing Haskell packages, Tidal being a Haskell library. And so if you do Cabal update and then if you do Cabal install Tidal, sometimes it doesn't go too well. So some people have instead been using V1 update, and then Cabal, once that runs, this takes ages as well, which is quite annoying. But when that's done, doing Cabal V1 install Tidal. If you don't use V1, then often you'll have to put --lib, otherwise nothing works. Basically, the user interface to this Cabal command, the Haskell people have acknowledged that it's not very good, and they're working on it. But I'll try and get together some kind of tips for upgrading Tidal. But basically, you do the same as if you were installing it, and if you do that, then it will upgrade it to the latest version. But I've already done that, so I won't show you actually. What I tend to do now is use V1 because it seems to work more often, and V1 install Tidal would do it. If you've already got a V2 install, then that won't work because it'll probably take the older one that was installed with V2. Anyway, that's quite tedious to talk about, and I'd much rather talk about what's new. But yeah, this is a party, and in England, we drink Pims and eat Frazzles when it's party time. So I'm going to do that now. Right. So what's planned for the party bit is a question. This is it, actually. It's just me talking. We can't actually party at the moment, unfortunately. Maybe I should have thought a bit further ahead and set up some network music thing, but maybe we'll continue the party later in the week and do that then. Any word on compatibility of 1.5.1 with editor plugins? You shouldn't have to upgrade any editor plugins. It should just work. The only thing that would be broken is if you have changed your boot title to use what was like if you were sending OSC to both SuperDirt and something else like Hydra or Visualizer, then you have to change that code. So if you've got a gig coming up with that, then maybe save upgrading until afterwards. Okay. I'll go party. Okay. Peanuts and wine, well done. Simon, right. Okay. So what's new? So we've been looking at drawline during the lessons. Oh, this is both the I think people are here both from the Tidal Club learning TidalCycles course, and I also invited my coffee supporters who send me coffee through ko-fi.com. So some of you might not actually be doing the course, but you're very welcome to join via the pay as you feel wall. But on the course, we've been looking at drawline a bit, which is a nice way of visualizing patterns. So you can see what this Euclidean pattern looks like. And someone called MXYZ just made it so you also have access to this, which was just an internal function, but now you can specify how many characters you have. That's the problem with PIMs. Per line. So if I put drawline size, which stands for size 80, then it'll just show a bit more. I could make it 100, that sort of thing. That's quite useful. Okay, so there's also, I'm just going through everything that's changed because there's like a change log. And the next thing is Tidal Pass additions. So this is what is used by this system by David Ogborn. So if I can find, let's just assume everything's, didn't just break everything. Okay, this is it. Right, so oh, I need to do it in Google Chrome. Fair enough. Let's try that. So if you haven't seen XGMuros, it's a browser-based thing. And within it, it has something called Mini Tidal. Solo mode, let's try that. And I don't know if this is going to work because of the way I've got things set up here, but in theory, I should be able to run a tidal pattern in here. Syntax, I've got a syntax error. This is behaving a bit strangely, actually. Yeah, so you don't put the D1, maybe? Okay, well, I can hear that, but probably you can't. But this is like a network music system where you can have multiple people on this working together. And it's something that we'll probably have a look at later in the course for those who are on that. But this is mini Tidal because not everything is supported. But as time goes on, David adds more and more. And he's just added all of these. So yeah, Tidal Pass is something that XGMuros uses to get Tidal running in the web browser. No installation, which is good fun. Okay, he's also added a new, more efficient pseudo-random number generator. This is related to XGMuros actually, because it runs in a web browser. It's a bit less efficient, and so David's been looking at what things slow things down a bit. And surprisingly, it's a big use of CPU was the old way of making random numbers, and so he's just made it more efficient. by rewriting it a bit. So you shouldn't be able to hear any difference though. The only difference would be is if you've really depended on like the first cycle having certain numbers in it, they will be different random numbers, but otherwise you shouldn't notice anything. They'll behave the same way. Right. I don't know what that's doing there. Okay, so other things that have been added is just making it so that you can put patterns in places where thanks for the advice, Simon. You can put patterns places where you wouldn't be able to before. So when was some cycles by? So this used to be that you had to just put a number here. So this means 3/4 of the time, 3/4 of the cycles add a crush on average. But now you can actually put this as a pattern. So I can make it 100% and 0%. So this is just alternating between them. Or I can make this like 10% of the time. Or make this 50-50. Probably be able to hear the difference a bit better then. So that's just a case of making things more and more patternable. So this is actually only a couple of years old, being able to pattern parameters in this way at all. So we're still finding our way, all the bits haven't made patternable yet. So I skim past this, it's true. GSDIOIH. I'll come back to that in a minute. Okay. In fact, I come back to it now because it's the next thing. So, refactored, more flexible OSC targeting. So this is a little bit technical, but it has some really practical uses. So OSC stands for Open Sound Control, and it's how Tidal communicates with SuperDirt. But it's a standard protocol, and quite a lot of software accepts it. So if you tell Tidal what kind of open sound control messages something expects, then you should be able to control it with Tidal, which is quite exciting. So the kind of thing you might find you can control is a DAW, a digital audio workstation. Jack Armitage has been encouraging me to implement this because can't remember the name of the DAW that he wanted this working for, but he's got it working with it anyway. Is it Big Whiz or something? It's not Big Whiz, something like that. But actually there's loads of different software, and also if you're writing something in processing, there's an OSC library for that, or for MaxMSP or Pure Data. Bitwig, thank you. Not Big Whiz. Anyway, so there's I've updated this custom OSC thing. So it used to be that you could set the OSC anyway, but now I've made it so it's a lot more configurable and flexible, and it's easier to target multiple things within one pattern in particular. So you can look at that for more information. There's an example of using it with quite a dorky piece of software called ASCII Simple Video Synth, which is a lot of fun actually. And this is the code you need to describe how to send messages to it. So if you went to this website, it would, for this software, it says OSC control and tells you the different messages you can send it to control it. And basically I've turned that into code, those instructions, and I've already loaded it into my boot Tidal file, which is here. So this is the boot Tidal that starts up Tidal within Atom. And And I've commented out the line that this is the default start Tidal thing, and instead I've just added the code for that visualizer thing. And all the rest is the same. So it still targets SuperDirt, so I'm still able to make sound, but it's also targeting this thing, which is this ASCII visualizer. Here it is. I'll run it. Oh, if you have photosensitive epilepsy, then look away for a minute, because this is quite cosmic. Okay, so there we go. It's doing its thing. This actually uses quite a lot of my CPU, this little program, but it's basically a text mode visualizer. It's pretty colorful, but it's just sending characters to the screen with different colors. And that thing here, so ASC color should change for the red things. It should change the speed. So I'm switching between values 0 and 13, but also triggering BD and snare. So in the same pattern, I'm controlling SuperDirt and this visualizer. Maybe I'll change this to blue. See what it does. Oh, not too much. Oh, a little bit. Yeah, fun. So if I then oh, okay. Yeah, I've put that in the wrong place. You get the idea anyway. It's a way of controlling multiple bits of software together. So there you go. Right, I'll stop that because it's using loads of CPU. So that's that. So another thing you can now pattern. I've already done that one. Yeah. Okay, now I'm doing things in the wrong order. Okay, so there's something. Yeah, someone fixed JAMAGIN fixed up something for the Emacs plugin, which is really kind of them. That's been annoying me for a while. And okay, the next thing, this is quite a big thing. Supports state substitution in mini notation. So this deserves a swig of Pimm's, I think. It's a shame we couldn't hold an Algrave or something. So here I am in my spare room with my frazzles and my Pimm's, but I'm very happy to have you with me. I'm privileged, really. All right. Sorry. That was probably really loud. Sorry. Okay, so this has been implemented for a while. This side of it, how to set a control value. So this is like setting some global state or giving a name to a pattern that other patterns can access. So here I'm using set s, which sets a string or a pattern of words. And I'm giving it a name of hello. I could call it anything. And this is the pattern that I'm calling hello. So I'll just run that. And here's one called Bing, which is of type F or floating point. So with set F, I'm setting Bing to this pattern. And here's a Boolean one, which is like a binary true or false pattern. And I'm calling one called meter, this pattern. So I'm just assigning different patterns to different values. And now in this pattern, I can access that. And the new thing is that you can do it within the mini notation. So it used to be that you had to do things like D1, sound, clap, and then do N. And instead of mini notation, I think it would be C, F, Bing. Oops. then if I went back here and made it faster, so the good thing is that I can change this and this will update automatically. But the new thing is that instead of doing this CF thing, I can just do this. So with this little up arrow, caret, whatever it's called, you can just name them within a pattern. So I can mix in other things. I could put the pattern twice. I could use it in a different pattern and so on. So this came out of someone asking the forum actually whether this was possible, and I remembered that it's something we talked about a lot in the past but not got around to implementing it, and actually didn't take long to implement, and I think it's super powerful. And this isn't the only way of setting these values as well. You can actually set these values using a MIDI controller, which I haven't actually plugged in, but this sort of thing. Say that this control was CC value 34, then to have that control something like the shape, I could just do up arrow 34, and then straight away that control value would change numbers here. You just have to run a little bit of code in SuperCollider and do a bit of plumbing to make that work. I'll do a session on that later in the course. Okay, so that's basically that. You can use these values in different places. Like here, I've got this plugged in here, this plugged in here, this plugged in here. I can have another pattern also using Bing. And if I change Bing here, it'll change it for all the others that are running. So that's pretty exciting. So have fun with that. I haven't documented this yet. I'll share this sort of file, this worksheet in the forum. Right. Wow, gonna buy me a controller, yeah. Simon says that is going to be great for structuring longer pieces. Yeah, it'll be fun. I think it'd be good for also doing quite well prepared sets and then kind of having bits of pattern which you jam with. Because sometimes when you pre-prepare a set and make this huge pattern which sounds great, you kind of, once it comes to perform with it, you're not really sure what to do. But if you have a bit of the pattern that's named, then in this way it's much easier to go back to it and know what kind of thing you can mess with to make interesting things happen. Can you pattern out changes between structs? Can you explain that a bit more? Oh, and the question was, what does the up arrow do? All it is saying here, it's just for specifying a name. So this is saying that this up arrows here is just saying that this is the name of a pattern. It's not actually a note. It's actually another pattern. And then it's this pattern here that I've named here. Okay. Yeah, pattern out changes between structs. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the question is there, but I'm very curious, so please expand. Okay, are you changing between Bing and meter? Oh yes, you can, yeah. So if you had, well, Bing and meter are different types, so you can put those in the same pattern. So if I had something called bang, and I had another number pattern like for ... Yeah. So this is still a mini notation, so you can put bang in here like this, as you suggest. Yeah, I think I've put that in the wrong place. Huh. I think I might have crashed something there. That's annoying. So if you find any bugs that cause Tidal to crash, that's something I'd really like to fix. So, oh, failed to send. Oh no, yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened there. So fine there. Oh, need to set the meter as well. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's alternating between those two patterns, and you could put some numbers in there as well. Is it splicing in the named pattern like... Oh, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think that would work. So, question is, would you be able to do something like... this is new, so I haven't tried this. Interesting. It doesn't actually seem to have sped that up. Oh, maybe it's the meter getting in the way. Let's get rid of that. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So you can just use it as if it was actually in the pattern, basically. I'm not sure if this would work. Let's see. No, it didn't like that. It wanted it in the square brackets for some reason. That's probably something I can fix. Okay. Good. Oh, there's a crash that happens with mismatched angle brackets. Okay, I'll make a note of that and look at fixing that one. Yeah, crash bugs are the worst. You don't want that to happen during a performance. So you can use the same name in more than one pattern. Yeah, so you can use these wherever you like, and it looks like you can just use it as much as you like. Patterns in patterns, yeah. So this could be another way of making longer form compositions with different bits of patterns coming in and out at different times. Okay. Okay, so I think this is another thing that came up in the forum. Splice, until this version, you had to do this. But now, you can pattern that. So this first pattern of splice, remember, is the number of slices to chop this break, or whatever the sound is, into. So when this is 8, this just plays the breakthrough normally. When it's 16, it'll only play the first half of it, but fitting within the same amount of time, so that it would sound slower. And then that would be faster. So the first third of the pattern is going normal rate, I guess, and the second third is going twice as fast, and the third bit is going half the speed. Yeah, I think. No, the other way around. Anyway, have fun with it. And the same with chew. So this is a bit tidier because slice, you could always use a pattern here. For splice, for some reason, I didn't implement it. And the same with chew, you couldn't, now you can, but with bite you always could, I think. So chew is doing something similar to here, but with patterns rather than slicing up sounds. It's just slicing up the patterns into different bits. Okay. There is a lesson on chew, if you're interested in that. Okay. So X fraction alias for a sixth. So something we did in the last lesson, I think, was look at things like T for a third. So this is setting the delay to be a third of a second. Actually, normally you'd lock that like this. So now it's a third of a cycle, not a third of a second. So if I put it to Q, it would be a quarter. Yeah, you can hear that's locked. S would be a 16th. And there's just a new one, X, which stands for a sixth. The reason I didn't use S is that's already used for 16th. Yeah, if you can think of any useful fraction aliases to add, then I'm all ears. DFB alias for delayed feedback param. So here I did delay FB, which is itself, I think, short for delay feedback. But now that's really annoying to type. So you can now just put DT. Okay. Add unmute all and only to boot Tidal.hs. Okay. So this is only. Oh yes, this should work. I think it's in here. Let's check it's actually here. No, it's not. Okay. I've got a custom boot Tidal, so has it gone? There. Yeah, so these have been added to boot Tidal.hs only and unmute all. I'm going to have to define them manually because they're not in my boot Tidal yet. So there's unmute all. But this should, once you install Tidal, this should upgrade Tidal, this should update. Or you might have to, if you've got a custom boot Tidal file, have to do this manually as well. So what was it? It was unmute all and only. So I can define those like that. Okay. And what do they do? So if I had simple rhythm, and then so you can mute one, mute two, then I can unmute one. But if they're both muted, I can run unmute all. So rather than go back and unmute them manually, I can just unmute everything. So another thing you can do is I'm forgetting all the name of the samples. Yes, just have a snare. When in doubt. So if I only wanted this to play, I'd just do only. I think you have to have an indent there actually. Oh no, you don't. So that's a bit different from solo. Like if I had those three running and did solo 3, it's kind of similar. But then you can unsolo and get the others back. With only, all it does is hash everything and then just play the one that you're running. So now if I unsolo 3, it doesn't do anything because nothing's soloed, nothing's muted. It's just stopped the others completely. So that's quite useful if you want to do a hard transition to just having a single pattern and then go from there. Okay. Yeah, we'll have a look at MIDI controllers in the course later this week, I guess. How to control things with controllers. Hopefully I'll be able to find a MIDI cable and I'll be able to do a quick video on controlling external synths, or maybe I can just find a soft synth to do for that. Okay, so that's it. That's all the new stuff. I think the main headline stuff is for more flexible OSC. We'll start building up a library of configurations that you can use with different software, so it'll be easy to quickly interface to Bitwig or whatever. I think Jack's already shared his code on the chat. Yeah, this named parameter being able to be dropped into patterns is going to be a lot of fun, I think. I mean, what I find it particularly useful for is, by the way, if you think of any questions, then feel free. I've got it in top chat mode. This happened before. I think when I'm in top chat, I miss loads of messages. Yeah, if I've missed any questions, it'll be because of that. And if you just copy and paste, I'll yeah. If you start asking questions, because there's like a minute or two delay on the stream, I think, because of YouTube. So yeah, I was just going to say that what I find this useful for is having a kind of shared meter. So that's this set B thing in particular. So if I wanted to have this as the kind of underlying rhythm of a whole piece, then I could do something like, yeah, I'm kind of a bit short of ideas for the music side. But yeah, let's just have a simple thing. And then if I just did struct and then meter, yeah, I'll just have it a straight meter to start with. And then I had a little tune as well. So let's think of and use the same meter. It's just like they're going together well, but then you can use that as a starting point. So instead of having it just match like that, which is nice for a bit but might get a bit boring, then how about inverting that? So now the drums are kind of filling in between the notes. And instead of using struct, I can mask, so that lets, instead of imposing a structure on the pattern, it just only lets through events from the pattern. So you can, yeah, it's kind of masking it off, if that makes sense. You can make it faster. Maybe if I only invert it every other. I could add a layer on top of this. So now the relationship between them's quite subtle, but it's there. I find that really kind of interesting approach, kind of having this, and that's the difference between meter and rhythm, I suppose. Meter is kind of an underlying implied rhythm. Which might not even be played, but it's kind of implied by what everything else is doing, I suppose. And so you have these two patterns which are kind of abstractly related to the underlying pattern in different ways, but aren't actually played perfectly. So there you go. Musically, there's a relationship there, but it's quite an obscure one, I suppose. Well, slightly obscured, I suppose. Yeah, we should have a proper session on and other ways of structuring longer form pieces. And it'd be interesting to compare building up patterns from named parts versus using UR, which is, I guess, a similar approach, but sort of more self-contained. Okay, so we've got a couple of questions that I have brushed past. So, what is the min-max of DJF? It is indeed 0 to 1. So 0 would be cutting out. I forgot to do the outro. You can hardly hear it, actually. It's just cutting out everything apart from very low frequencies. So 0.5 is more or less uncoloured. You'll probably hear the difference a little bit if I turn it off. But then when you go up from there, it starts cutting out the lower frequencies. Until there's hardly anything left. Yeah. So DGF is 0 to 1. Okay, how do you choose between set B, set F, etc.? Right, so so different things have different types. I guess the easiest thing to do is ask Haskell what the type of something is. So if you do T sound and it says it's a pattern string, that means it expects words. String is programmer speak for a word or a string of words. And that means that you need set S. So that string translates to using set S. If it's something like N, that is floating point. Double means a double precision floating point number. So that's something which can have a decimal point in, basically. So that would be something like N or shape. There's also set I, so that's for an integer. Just set I. There aren't actually many that take I. Most things just take Fs if they're numbers. But I think, for example, course might. Yeah, so that's pattern int, so you'd have to use set I for that. And set B, I don't think there's any like control functions like sound or N or shape that take a binary pattern, but some functions do. And examples of that are, there's not many of them. There's like mask, and there's struct. And you can see it says pattern bool. Bool stands for Boolean, who is the guy who invented Boolean logic. Of course, he didn't. It's always the person who gets something named after them isn't necessarily the person who actually invented it, but that's the way things go, Darwinism and all that. Okay, so that's how you find out. Or you can just try them all until it works. How can we randomize DJF? Because it's a range from 0 to 1, you can just use things directly like So it's being matched up with this, which is only changing once per cycle. And I think that's why it's only taking a random number per cycle. But yeah, just put run there. If you wanted it to be constant, you could wrap all this in brackets, and then it would do all this to generate all the events and then apply the randomness afterwards. And you could give that a range from 0.0 to 0.5, something like that. So now it's a random number between 0 and 0.5. An underlying meter in Afro-Cuban styles. Okay, yeah. I think I've maybe got this idea from reading about Indian classical music. I'm not sure. Clave, yeah. Yes. Yeah, I'll be really interested to hear what you do with this kind of meter idea. Okay. Okay, yeah, let's listen to this rhythm. Yeah, 5/7. Nice. I need some swing. Okay. How to have different similar patterns and let Tidal choose between them with weighted probability. Is that possible somehow? Yep. So interesting. Yeah, so if you had named patterns, yeah, so this is the question. How to have different similar patterns, D1, D2, etc., and let Tidal choose between them. You couldn't really do it with D1 and D2, but if you named them in this way, you could choose between that way, or you could just put them in one pattern and use, what is it, choose. W choose is weighted choose. There's a session on this in the course, yeah, in the randomness week. And with W choose, you have the values, so that could be a whole pattern. So it could be BD, SN. Sorry, I'm not particularly imaginative today, it seems. And then you could do that, and then have the probability. So give that probability of 1. And then let's have that nice rhythm with a probability of 2, so that's twice as likely to occur as this. Just need to put a blank line around and work out what's wrong there. So value double looks fine to me. Okay, I'm going to have to resort to reading the error message. Yeah. Yes, because W choose doesn't take patterns, it takes normal values. That seems like a bug to me, but you can fix it with unwrap. So W choose is now making a pattern of patterns, and I'm turning it into a pattern with unwrap. That's quite technical. Still silent. Maybe this isn't as good as I thought it would be. Maybe I need inner drawing. Maybe that's why. Yeah, it's working now. So now it's every. Is it constantly? Yeah. It's not choosing every cycle though, it's just choosing at random between events from them. Yeah, there should be a way of doing this. So I think there's another function, I can't remember what it's called at the moment, that makes it so it only picks one per cycle. Maybe someone will remember in the chat. But that's the basics of it. It's just that there's some gotchas, so I had to work around there. And someone's also, choose by. Okay. I'm not sure if that would work. Choose by. Yeah, maybe it does work. Interesting. Okay. So, any more questions here? Is it possible to use set I, set B, set F like a random seed picker that would mutate multiple patterns on evaluating? Interesting thought. I mean, the problem with random numbers in Tidal is that randomness is hangs off the clock on the cycle count, so there isn't really a random seed because it's kind of seeded by time itself. We don't have time over clock, don't have control over clock time. It just keeps going. So you'd have to do something like that trick in that we were looking at in the forum. About random numbers. Lots of questions. Okay. So random. Yeah, can't remember. Let's have random. Yeah, I can't find the. Yeah, there was definitely some way of doing it. Was it random IO or something? I can't find it. Oh, there it is. System random. Yeah, okay. So this is how to make a random number outside of Tidal. Yeah, this is quite a nice idea actually. So this just makes a random number between 0 and whatever. I'll have to import system random, I think. So that'll be different each time it's run. And so if I put that in a variable and do set f seed and I think I'd have to do pure x. Okay, so that's picking a number at random and putting it in there. So then to use it somewhere, I could do loop first RP times 8 and then speed rand. So now that's just looping. if I take that pattern, shift it by seed, this probably isn't going to work. Yeah, it has to be set R, because that's another thing. Yeah, some complications to change things to the right type, because time isn't floating point, it's something called a rational number. But now that's annoying, it's not working. I'm gonna loop first. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I've done this in the wrong order, that's why. So if I move, I need to shift it before I loop the first one. Is that working now? Yeah. This needs to be in brackets. Okay. Sounds interesting. It needs some more distortion. Okay, I'll share the code for that. That's actually pretty fun. Yeah, the idea of having, yeah, you could make this into a function, just something that, call it run seed, and you could probably put some of this into, yeah, make a function for this kind of thing to make it easier to work with. Sorry, that should be an equals. Now I can just do run seed. Okay, I'll share the code for that. Okay. There is another question about mortal. So this is a transition. This isn't too useful really. I think mortal just like makes a pattern mortal, which means that after a while it will die. Transitions. It doesn't seem to have anything in the way of documentation. So this is the fade in transition, so it will fade in the pattern. So the one here refers to like D1, so if I did a clap like this, it would replace that. So the question is, what does mortal do? Maybe it's just like the opposite of fade in. Oh no. Yeah, so I think what it will do is play this 4 times. but then for the next 4 cycles it will gradually take out events until there's nothing left. There, it's gone. So again, the 1 is just like the ID of the pattern that's playing. So D1 would be ID1. So that is just replacing that. So that's just like the ID. You can actually put a word here like Freddy. It still work. The 4 is when it starts dying, and the 8 is when it will be dead. Sorry, it's a bit dark, isn't it? I've given it a name as well. Maybe let's put something like capitalism. Drink to that. So now it's going to start dying. So this could have some useful function, like if you're doing just as a creative tool, like if you always put this in front of your patterns, then it means they'd only play for 32 cycles, and you'd have to keep adding new patterns to keep it going. It's like spinning plates, you have to keep on running them. Of course, every time you run it, it resets it, so it'll carry on playing it for 16 cycles and then start taking events out. But that could be quite a fun thing to do. You could even update your boot title thingy and replace all your D1s. So P uses it's defined somewhere. Stream replace. But instead of that, you could use mortal. Oh, it's defined here, lifespan and release. So if you change this to be mortal and 16 and 18, for example, I could, rather than restart title, I can just define it here. Then that would always work. That'd be an interesting creative way of working. It could be a prank to do on someone when they're actually, don't do that, it would be mean. But if you were mean, you could sneak up, change their boot title so that all their patterns would start degrading after 8 cycles or something. Okay. Right, I think that might be all the questions, and that was an hour, so that's good timing. I think just looking through, seeing if I've missed anything. I know I'll show you on the screen so you can wave. I think that's just about it. Cool. Yeah, it's been really nice. I'll eat my Frazzles now, and perfect for ambient. That's a good point. Yeah, having ambient drones coming in and out, have quiet bits and loud bits. That'd be nice. Thanks for dropping by. I hope you have a nice morning or evening or night, whatever. Hope things are all right wherever you are. They're pretty strange in the UK at the moment, but let's see how it goes. And see you soon. I always feel like there should be more. Maybe for a future stream, we'll have something more like a video chat thing or something, because this always feels strange. Also, particularly at the end when I'm just talking into a microphone and saying goodbye to people who I can't see. But anyway, have a nice evening, whatever, and bye.